society that will allow them to live, hence they die. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Also, what other ones? Malcolm X. Yeah, he was shot not just with a pistol or a rifle. No, he was shot with a sawed-off shotgun.
Really.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it happens, man. Yeah.
But other ones, Martin Luther King. That's another very big one. And actually, there's one that I've been reading about recently that is probably gleaned over. It does actually count as a political assassination. Is the crucifixion of Jesus Christ?
It's a very interesting one, isn't it? Because, of course, he kicked the money changers out of the temple, so he's almost like the first anti-monetary chap. He was, I mean, the thing is, if you listen to what Jesus actually says, if you ignore all the violent stuff that he says. He actually said some pretty kick-ass stuff, and the character of Jesus, and we do forget, it was a public crucifixion, at least according to the myth, and we do know that the Romans used to really crucify people, so of course that used to happen as well. So that's very true, isn't it? We hold them up as a martyr, and we forget that when people like Osama bin Laden are killed, they're being held up as a martyr by someone else, while we condone them as an enemy of the state. So you have to be fair and at least admit that there is, a sort of a comparison on both sides.
Yeah. Well, I guess that leads us into our next thing. Not entirely sure what you would have to say about this particular one, but how would you say religion holds us back?
Do you know, I was asked this recently when I was recording an interview with our chaps who made Zeitgeist News. He said, "What's your view of religion?" And I think I said something along the lines of, I just don't know what it does, right? Like, it's very nice to have a fervent belief. I've got a religious family as well. I've got members of my family who are religious, but they're not brutally religious in that sense. They're not trying to convert everyone door to door. So you tend to sort of not ignore it, but consider it to be less painful. But really, I see religion as sort of the outgrowth of all the old myths that we've forgotten, the myths, that we haven't quite realized yet aren't just real. I mean, it's, if you're born into a Christian family and you're raised with Christian values, you will adopt those values. I know that because I did. And as soon as I was outside of that environment and was teaching kids in Germany who were from troubled backgrounds, who had, social issues, I remember crossing my room one day and just going, man, all that stuff I believe is irrelevant. And it was just gone. It was just, the spell had been lifted, so to speak. And, there are other ways in which religion is used as well. I mean, obviously, it's very well documented that it's used as a vote gatherer. It's used as a control mechanism for behaviour. And in a lot of senses, it's used as a fear mechanism as well, even in the education system. In fact, I recently had a conversation where we were talking about the predominance of Catholic schools and their vicious violence towards children, whether it's sexual or physical. And I don't see it as an accident, actually, that within a culture and climate of fear that's been, pressed down onto one generation, that then go into the church, presumably partly not just because it's a normal thing, but actually for support for the inherited damage they now have to their egos, that it ends up being a cyclical issue, So, and that's really what religion is. There's a different faith than religion. You can have faith, and that's nice that people have faith. They have something that they just fervently assert and believe in. Great. That doesn't really do all that much damage. It's the religion, I think, the behavioural attributes of it that are sort of imposed, that go unexamined, that I find quite damaging. And, at the end of the day, listen, you can believe what you like, man, but where are we going to get some clean water from? What are we going to do about the air pollution? And when I had a chap come to my door last year, it was one of the chaps who believe in the Watchtower, what are they called again? The Jehovah's Witnesses, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door and they say, "Hey, have you heard the great news?" And I go, "What? You're leaving?" I'm not. I didn't say that, but I listen to the guy because I already know that he thinks there's a certain number of houses, a certain number of places in heaven, and all this shit. He even showed me in the Bible where it says it, and it's actually about a mountain. It's not at all about heaven.
Right.
And I said to him, "Listen, what would happen then, man, if you've now converted everyone, right? Everyone in the world now believes exactly what you believe, all right? What now?" And they don't have an answer, because that's the whole point of that particular religion, is to actually absorb you out of the real world and just concentrate on the hereafter. And that's sort of the next bit I wanted to kind of talk about as well, is that once you have that deference of hope, right, you have the idea that, well, doesn't matter how shitty your life is now, you'll be rewarded in the afterlife, then you are really quite pliant. You're quite pliable for any kind of abuse. And I mean, like, social abuse, you know, having your tax bill go up every year and having your pension go down. Oh, well, it doesn't matter, though, because I'm being pious and I'm being good and I'm going to go to heaven.
Yeah.
This is really damaging. You can believe in heaven all you like, but you must look at the effect that it's having on the way that you see society, the way you behave within your culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I end up saying to religious people, if we get into a discussion about how we can make this world a better place, and you know, and they start purporting their particular religious ideals, more often than not they say something along those lines that, you know, it's okay, I'm going to heaven, and I say to them, well, how does your life, how would your life on heaven compare to your life right now? You know, are there any, would you have a job in heaven? Would you have to worry about money? And they're like, well, no, this is paradise, you know. And I say to them, well, what does the Lord's Prayer say? On earth as it is in heaven. So doesn't that imply that we should actually make this world as if it was a heaven, to actually, you know, culminate ourselves into better values so that we make heaven on earth? And that sort of, like, it jars them a little bit, and then they sort of, it's like this strange sort of thing when someone who is so dogmatically assertive of something, when they encounter a brick wall of contrary evidence, they sort of like shrug it off and sort of like wistfully start skipping off in another direction, sort of psychologically.
Right. And that's because they've had to ignore the now. They've been so used to ignoring actual life in favour of the one that's going to come afterwards. And I look back now at I think I was about 18 or just before 18 when I quit religion. And I do think back and think, did I really believe in heaven and hell? And I think I probably did, but it seems so unrealistic that I could have believed that now. Of course, other people go the other way, don't they? Things get worse and they actually end up taking up religion, which of course is obvious. You know, it makes sense that you would go for anything that would inspire hope. But you have to admit, it doesn't do anything. Not technically, not in reality. It doesn't actually do anything. Religious people will still believe in the law of gravity because they've had enough feedback to know it's there next time, right?
Exactly.
And it'd be irrational if you go, well, maybe it's not there next time, like all the philosophers always say. It is there next time, right? There's not been one documented case of it not being there next time. So you're just being difficult now. But yeah, that's my view generally. I mean, it can be good. There are people, I'm not judging people. I know my own family are all very, very good people. And, and they have various different types of faith as well. You can tell they're not all the same. So it's not down to, the people, but it just for the purposes of what we're talking about, it doesn't do anything. It's sort of like a hobby on the side. You can believe what you like, mate, but we do actually have technical issues of the society that we have to solve. There is a starvation problem, and praying is clearly not working. We have an overpopulation problem in terms of having not enough of our society to look after the people who are here. It's not the other way around. It's not get rid of the people. It's we need to be meeting their needs, right? Those are the people we should be serving, right? We are in a position of influence more than people who are stuck in some African village, right? It's up to us. It's your job. And praying for it, or indeed banning condoms, seems to do the opposite for the population problem, and actually just sitting down and go, hey, how about we fix this shit, How about we actually work out how we can get proper nutrients to these people rather than tins of Campbell's soup and all this rubbish that we do at Harvest Festival.
Yeah, it just seems, I mean, going back to the thing you were saying earlier about fear, I kind of made a realization about 6 months or so ago, is that, I kept thinking that at that point I didn't completely understand the gravity of what fear, the kind of the part that fear plays. I thought that at that point that people were just indoctrinated. They were taught to reject any kind of information that brings it into question or anything like that. But then I think I was watching a couple of documentaries or something. I think it was actually a Michael Moore documentary maybe or something. No, actually it was
Bill Maher's Religulous.
It might have been. It was either that or a Richard Dawkins documentary, and I came to realise that what it is really the idea of questioning one's own faith is the deadliest sin that any Christian can commit.
That's right. In fact, yeah, it's actually despair. Despair is the unforgivable sin. That and suicide, because once you've actually truly despaired of something, there's no way that you can actually ask for forgiveness, because of course you'll be on the pale at that point. And the other one, of course, suicide, because you're dead, so you can't pray for forgiveness. Although I've never understood that one, because then surely your face to face with God and you can ask him right then. But yeah, those are the two unforgivable sins. But of course, only if you're thinking in earthly terms, which of course religious people aren't. So that doesn't make any sense either. So yeah. But it's true. And I remember how strong the programming was for me too, man. I was at a party once. And I was still a, 15, 16-year-old Christian, right? And someone walked past me with a Bad Religion T-shirt, right, with the crossed out on it. Yeah. And I remember scowling at the floor. Oh, it's bad, man. Oh. And I didn't even know anything about Bad Religion, right? I didn't even know they were a band at the time, right? So, but it just shows you, it's because it's all heavily rooted in symbology, it's symbols, it's things you identify with very easily. The rooting goes very, very deep. And to be honest with you, to expand this a little bit further out, again, to come back to him, John McMurtry makes a very, very interesting point about religion. Money is God now, and your religion, your belief in it, him, the mechanism, is just as powerful, if not more powerful, actually, because you don't even realize you're believing in it. I know that I'm believing in God because I've made a conscious decision. I call myself a Christian, but no one walks around going, I'm a monetarist, right? So actually, powerful belief is one that you don't even realize you're believing.
Yeah, well, I mean that's definitely one thing that we, it's just completely gleaned over again because it isn't, mainly purported over as some sort of religious belief, but it's ingrained and taught to us as though it was one. It doesn't come out and say it. But it's like you have to believe in money, and even people, and it's even ingrained in people who don't even consider, who are completely non-religious. Yeah. They still have this religious belief that the monetary system is real. I think that's all we got time for now. So I'm going to have to bring it to a close now, Ben.
Good talking with you.
Yeah, it's been great talking with you too, dude. We'll definitely have to do this again because I think we'll have to do a round 2 to cover all the topics that we needed to cover. If that's okay with you, Ben.
Excellent, man.
But thank you very much for coming and talking to me, Ben. Next time, I'm going to be answering more of your questions. Keep in mind, I'm always looking for more questions. So if any of you listening have any of your own questions or have received any questions, by all means, send them my way. I love questions. But anyway, it's going to be the end of the broadcast now. So it's goodbye from me, and say goodbye, Ben.
See you later, guys. Thanks for listening.